This debate today, it's about who gets to be an American. What opinions do we have to be counted as Americans? This is what this debate is about, Madam Speaker. There is this idea that you are a suspect if you are an immigrant, or if you are from certain parts of the world, or a certain skin tone, or a Muslim. It is no accident that members of the Republican Party accused the first Black president, Barack Obama, of being a secret Muslim. It is no accident.
The debate over Representative Ilhan Omar's removal from the House Foreign Affairs Committee wasn't just about committee assignments, it was about identity, accountability, and America's image. Lawmakers framed it as a test of whether Congress could uphold national credibility when a member's words stirred global controversy. Republicans argued Omar's record made her unfit to represent the U.S. in foreign policy, calling her presence on the committee a long-standing mistake that needed correction. Given that the Foreign Affairs Committee speaks for America on the world stage, they said its members must embody national values, not undermine them.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentlelady from the great state of New York, Nicole Malliotakis.
The gentlewoman from New York is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from my colleagues the reasons why the Representative Omar should be removed from this committee, but I feel like all the reasons have not just yet been stated, which is why I rise to add for the record. We've heard about the comments that were made regarding anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli views, but I rise to add to the record that as a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee, I've sat there and heard the representative actually spew anti-American rhetoric as well. I've been in that committee room where the representative equates Israel and the United States to Hamas and the Taliban. Absolutely unacceptable for a member of that committee. I've also heard the representative equate that it is the United States' fault that there is turmoil in Venezuela. That is not because of the oppressive socialist and communism that has spread throughout Central and South America and Venezuela at the hands of the Maduro and Hugo Chavez regimes. That is unacceptable.
As the debate continued, Republicans emphasized that every member of Congress swears the same oath, to defend the Constitution and protect America's interests above all else. In their view, Representative Ilhan Omar had repeatedly violated that oath through comments that questioned her loyalty to American values. They cited her remarks downplaying 9/11, harshly criticizing Israel, and implying U.S. blame in global conflicts, calling these a troubling pattern, not isolated mistakes. Supporters of her removal insisted this wasn't about silencing her but about ensuring those shaping U.S. foreign policy uphold the nation's principles. Representative Nicole Malliotakis of New York delivered one of the most forceful speeches, recalling Omar comparing the U.S. and Israel to terrorist groups like Hamas and the Taliban. For Malliotakis, that alone disqualified Omar from serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee. She argued that such rhetoric undermines America's credibility and damages relationships with allies. Her message was clear: members representing America abroad must defend the nation, not demean it.
And as a New York representative, to hear the representative belittle, to try to diminish the worst terrorist attack on United States soil on September 11, 2001, as some people did something, that is unacceptable as well. And I hold the same standard for this side of the aisle that I do the other, because when another colleague on my side said something about 9/11, I also voted to have her removed from the Education Committee because I thought that was inappropriate. So I'm being consistent here, and I hope my colleagues will do the same to show that this is about consistency and accountability, because we should not have an individual with those views on the committee that is tasked with representing our country and our Congress to foreign nations. I yield back.
The gentlelady yields back.
Georgia seek recognition.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A.1 of Rule 9, I seek recognition to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows.
Recognized.
Censuring Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. Whereas elected members of Congress take an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the United States without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. Whereas Representative Ilhan Omar took an oath of allegiance to the United States upon becoming a citizen, declaring, "I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate."
Malliotakis didn't stop there. She provided further examples of Omar's controversial record. She reminded the chamber of moments when Omar appeared to suggest that turmoil in Venezuela was America's fault, ignoring the role of oppressive socialist regimes like those led by Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. To Malliotakis, this was more than just a difference of opinion. It was evidence of an outlook that consistently shifted blame away from corrupt foreign regimes and onto the United States. She described such views as anti-American and dangerous because they allowed dictators and oppressive governments to escape accountability while painting the U.S. as the villain. By listing these examples, Malliotakis made her case that Omar's actions weren't a one-time problem, but part of a troubling pattern that put her at odds with the very values she was supposed to defend in the committee. This argument reinforced the idea that allowing Omar to remain in her position weakened America's ability to lead and inspire trust abroad.
State or sovereignty, of whom or which I have heretofore been a subject or citizen. Whereas on January 27, 2024, Representative Omar gave remarks at an event in Minneapolis in which she made treasonous statements. Whereas Representative Omar said she has spoken to many Somalians who asked her to intercede for the Somali government by pressuring the United States government into certain actions. Whereas Representative Omar assured the Somalians she spoke to, the U.S. government will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interest of Somalia. Whereas Representative Omar continued, "For as long as I am in U.S. Congress, Somalia will never be in danger. Its waters will not be stolen by Ethiopia or others. Sleep in comfort knowing I am here to protect the interest of Somalia from inside the U.S. system."
Malliotakis didn't stop there. She pointed to more examples from Omar's record, reminding the Chamber of times Omar seemed to blame the United States for turmoil in places like Venezuela, overlooking the corruption and oppression under leaders like Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. To Malliotakis, this wasn't just a policy disagreement, it reflected a worldview that consistently shifted blame away from dictators and toward America. She called that mindset anti-American and dangerous, arguing it let tyrants off the hook while tarnishing the nation's reputation. By laying out these examples, Malliotakis drove home that Omar's controversies weren't isolated incidents but part of a troubling pattern that clashed with the values expected of someone shaping U.S. foreign policy. In her view, keeping Omar on the committee risked weakening America's credibility and moral authority around the world.
Whereas George Washington warned in his farewell address of 1796 to guard against the impostures of pretended patriotism, and further declared citizens by birth or choice of a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Whereas these statements by Representative Omar clearly violate the oath she took as an elected member of Congress to defend and protect the United States Constitution. Whereas Representative Omar has exhibited the treasonous tendencies George Washington warned about, and her actions must be condemned by all members of Congress who adhere to the oath they took upon assuming office.
The debate escalated when the House formally introduced a resolution to censure Representative Omar. The resolution accused her of acting like a foreign agent, citing controversial remarks she made in Minneapolis, where she allegedly told Somali Americans that the U.S. government will do what we want and promised to protect Somalia's interests from within the American system. For her critics, this crossed a line from rhetoric into what they considered a betrayal of her oath of office. The resolution argued that these words made her unfit to represent America in foreign affairs and showed a troubling allegiance to a foreign nation over the United States. Supporters of the resolution said this was the final straw. If Omar could not be trusted to put America first, she could not be trusted to shape its policies abroad. This charge intensified the debate, but it also revealed how determined her opponents were to remove her once and for all.
Whereas by openly admitting her efforts to advance Somalia's interest using her position as a United States representative, Representative Omar has revealed herself to be a foreign agent acting on behalf of a foreign government. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota be censured. Representative Ilhan Omar forthwith present herself in the well of the House of Representatives for the pronouncement of censure. Representative Ilhan Omar be censured with the public reading of this resolution by the Speaker, and Representative Ilhan Omar be and is hereby removed from the Committee of the Budget and the Committee on Education.
Ilhan Omar's remarks sparked a heated debate in Congress and across the country. Lawmakers argued that an elected representative should not use their platform to undermine America's foreign policy, calling such statements borderline treasonous and damaging to her political career. In Clip 12, the debate became even more interesting as people began viewing the issue from a freedom of speech perspective. Some said that if a representative speaks for their community, labeling them a traitor is unfair. However, conservatives argued that when it comes to national security and foreign policy, such remarks go beyond speech and attempt to influence policy itself. By Clip 13, the controversy had gone viral across media and social platforms. Some praised Omar as a strong voice for her community, while others called her a political liability. Hashtags and viral clips intensified the debate, turning it from a political issue into a public opinion battle. Republicans pushed their narrative hard, introducing resolutions that included calls for Omar's censure and removal from her committee. They claimed her remarks were against America's interests and raised questions about her loyalty. Democrats, on the other hand, accused Republicans of political revenge and warned that punishing lawmakers for their opinions would only deepen divisions in Congress. Conservatives responded by saying this was not revenge, it was accountability. Omar still held her seat and voice in Congress, they said, but being on the prestigious Foreign Affairs Committee was a privilege, not a right. Republicans framed the move as a victory for common sense and patriotism, insisting that America's credibility and principles must always come first. They even cited George Washington's farewell address, where he warned against pretended patriotism and urged loyalty to the nation above all else. This historical framing gave the resolution moral weight, turning it from a political dispute into a matter of national integrity. For conservatives, Omar's removal was more than just a disciplinary action, it was a symbolic victory, a line in the sand. It sent a message that America would no longer tolerate rhetoric that seemed to side with its adversaries. In the end, this vote became more than just a punishment for one representative, it was a turning point for how Congress defines its standards. Supporters said it showed that anti-American rhetoric has no place in positions of power, and that accountability must come before politics. For many conservatives, Omar's removal was not just a win, but a step toward restoring America's credibility and reaffirming that patriotism still matters in Washington.